if you're going to go private with 420, I mean, yeah, you want to be in part of this.
My sources suggest, and I don't know where your sources land, that they are not an official advisor to this company.
So I think from what you've heard is right. Our colleagues at the Times have reported something along those lines as well in terms of not just that, but the Tesla board wasn't alerted ahead of the tweet, at least not in full, that even with the Saudi fund, that people close to that fund say, well, I don't think it's the same thing as securing funding, as he said in his tweet. They might have had some conversations, but they haven't really. In other words, he definitely put the cart before the horse based on all the reporting that we've seen.
Also worth noting, by the way, that there is likely, at least from what I understand, I don't know if you've heard differently, a different group of advisors that are ultimately going to be advising the board, or at least the independent directors. So
independent directors, right.
He says that Goldman and Silver Lake are advising. I don't know if he actually uses the word that they're advising him, but to the degree this is happening, it sounds like they're advising him. It is possible, by the way, that Munger Tolles may actually be advising the board. So there's a whole sort of some distinctions to be made here about who's advising who, because not everyone's on the same team anymore.
Not everyone's on the same team, but with board makeups, typically you're going to have an independent contingent. You're going to have sort of an owner/management contingent like Elon Musk, and then you're going to have everyone else. So it's unusual, but it's happened before where different factions of the board have to be represented by different parties. In terms of these financial advisors, though, yeah, I mean, it's one thing to say, hey, I've been talking to these guys, and another thing to say, I've hired them.
Yeah, but I guess if the head of PIF sits at the table and twice says to him, let's take this company private, does Elon Musk escape prosecution by the SEC?
I mean,
you're not a lawyer,
we're going to go down to two words in the tweet of secure funding secured. Right. What does that mean? I mean, if you're the SEC, you're going to take a close look at that and say, it sounds to me an investor or a shareholder would think you have the money now. You have a commitment letter, which is different from two conversations.
By the way, to make it that much more complicated, because Elon Musk, depending on how the SEC approaches this, may have to take two different approaches to this, which is this. During the period that he's having these conversations with PIF, these so-called conversations, where they're committing these funding secured, he's also buying shares in his own company. He's buying shares in his own company while this is happening, okay? So you either need to take the position that I have these informal conversations with investors all the time that say crazy things to me like we should take the company private, and I can buy shares here and now and whenever because who knows what these people are actually doing. Or the funding is absolutely secured, and I took this absolutely seriously, in which case I can't do anything with my shares.
And then he could be accused of insider trading, having bought the shares.
Bingo.
Knowing that
Bingo was his name-o.
Right.
These are the issues on the table.
That's exactly. But here, taking a step back, what is, going private for him is getting out of the spotlight, getting rid of the shorts. At the same time, the public markets have given him a lot of passes that trading really high.
It treats him very well. I mean, the multiple is incredible, right?
I don't know what he gets necessarily by taking it. If he wants every shareholder to tender their shares for a private stake, I mean, then you want your cake and eat it too in terms of maintain the current structure, but I don't want to be in the spotlight. I don't want to have to report every quarter. I don't get that. Exactly.
Also worth raising another question. He's talked about bringing other investors over the wall, so to speak. In fact, he said in his blog post yesterday that he felt that he was actually being fair to everybody by putting all this out on Twitter because he didn't want to go to certain investors without all the investors knowing. My question to you, Ed Lee, is if, in fact, he went to other investors, or even in this process in the past week has gone to other investors, that means they're what's called over the wall, which means they can't sell their shares.
Right.
Do we actually believe that the Fidelities and T. Rowe Prices and every big investor in America actually even accepted the arrangement, meaning that they all said, oh, we're locked in? Because that's a whole other issue, by the way.
And based on how he's acted in the past and based on what we've seen, the reporting around this specific tweet and the incidents leading up to it, it doesn't seem like he's had those official. There's a rule. There's a wall. There are rules in place for a reason. It's to protect shareholders. It's to protect the process. He's classic Silicon Valley who wants to go outside the process. It's always been the case with these guys.
What do you know about this Azealia Banks story? Do you know about this? Do you know about this? Do you know what we're talking about?
Come on, this is where all the worlds collide between tech and media and trading.
Okay, explain it. So she's a rapper.
She's a rapper. Apparently, she was spending the weekend over at Elon Musk's house because he's his girlfriend. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, see, Joe
what-
knows.
oh, I know his
They
girlfriend.
met on Twitter,
They
right?
met on
With the-
Twitter.
His
right.
girlfriend is Grimes.
Right.
Bingo.
Yes, there
Oh
we go.
my.
Yeah, I see
Okay.
Jen's teacher. Anyway, so she had an Instagram story that she posted over the weekend, basically saying like, I'm seeing Elon Musk like trying to, protect himself outside of this tweet because he's now on the phone trying to secure.
He's like
funding.
in the kitchen
Yeah.
on the phone.
Exactly
He doesn't have
right.
the funding.
His face
and
is
she's
red, and he's not good looking in person apparently either.
I'm just looking at a two-shot of you two guys. I mean, is that standard issue New York Times? I mean,
You get a uniform.
look at the.
and then-
it's like
and
the.
then we-
is
yeah,
it like
we can accessorize it with
proletariat
different-
friendly?
We get the
Is
uniform.
that-
We get the uniform.
Rise it- look, I mean, look at that.
We get the.
Yes,
There's a brief-
yes, punch.
there's a
Yes,
brief-
punch. We.
There's a briefing. There's a
we
briefing.
understand.
Exactly.
Yes, Miss Jung. We understand.
We get the briefing after you get yours from Donald. and
Really,
Putin.
this is
So,
not a. This looks nothing like a Trump tie.
No, Putin,
No, it looks like it's
Putin might
coming
like
from
that
the
tie.
Yeah,
collection, though,
Putin.
right?
You
Come
keep
on.
hoping for that connection there.